பேராலும் சங்கத்தின் தலைவர் சுவாமி ஸ்ரீ சிவயோகானந்த அவர்களுக்கும் சுவாமிமார்களுக்கும் குருமார்களுக்கும் சகோதர சகோதரிகளுக்கும் பிள்ளைகளுக்கும் என் உள்ளம் கலந்த வணக்கம். In the precious and glorified name of our Master, His Holiness Brahma Sri Siva Subramaniya Guru Swamigal, my reverential respects to our spiritual head, Sri Swami Siva Yogananda, to our respected Swaminis, Swamis, Gurus, my humble Vanakkam, Namaste and Namaskaram to one and all of you, and welcome to our 85th anniversary celebration. Loving devotees, could I kindly ask you to rise for the opening prayer, Agara Maniye, followed by Aragara Yengo by Swami up on stage. We'll commence with Agara Maniye.
Yeah. Om Namah Sivaya, Sivaya Namo. 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 Om Namah Sivaya, Sivaya Namo.
Kindly remain standing for the hymn Jnana Guruve. Loving devotees, at this juncture, I'd like to call upon the President of the Saiva Sithantha Sangam, through Selvan Chetty to officially welcome you through Selvan Chetty.
Just over 2 months ago, we had the opportunity to host an Aradhana to celebrate our spiritual master, His Holiness Brahma Sri Saiva Guru Swami, where we commemorated his life and times and the legacy he has left behind for us. As mentioned at the Aradhana, our master has created a beautiful, simple form of worship and left a mighty organization in our capable hands. This mighty organization has been in existence for 85 years. Thanks to the esteemed leaders that have held the reign over the years. I offer my prostrations, salutations, and love at the lotus feet of our Supreme Lord Saiva Perumal. My prostrations at the feet of our Master, Founder, and Sadguru, His Holiness Brahma Sri Saiva Guru Swami. I acknowledge with reverence and respect the presence of our spiritual head of the Saiva Sangam of South Africa, His Holiness Sri Swami Saiva Yogananda. My respects to all Swamis, Swaminis, Gurus, spiritual leaders who have joined us here today and online via Facebook. Vanakkam, Namaste, and loving greetings to you. On behalf of our spiritual head, Swami Saiva Yogananda, and on behalf of all the structures of the Sangam, I extend to you a warm and cordial welcome to the 85th anniversary of the Sithantha Sangam. And thank you for your graciously responding to the invitation extended to you. As members of the Sithantha Sangam, we celebrate the historic milestone of our organization, the 85th anniversary of our existence. The Sithantha Sangam was the first Saivite Hindu organization to be established in South Africa and was done so by our Sadguru, His Holiness Brahma Sri Saiva Guru Swami in the year 1937. Our master was a great soul and spiritual luminary who graced the soils of South Africa. Swami Sivananda Navalar aptly describes the master in the following words, and I quote, "It is rarely, if ever, given to the average people, in the midst of the burdens of family life and the occupational trials and tribulations that they undergo, to devote more than a limited and negligible portion of the time and life to the propagation of our religion and welfare of mankind. The arrival in our midst of His Holiness Brahma Sri Saiva Guru Swami with his dynamic personality, a most compassionate heart, a deep understanding of human limitations and its needs, and an inspired leader, provided our people of the time with their deeply felt and sadly missed need. The spiritual leadership of the Sangam have taken Guru Swami and the Sangam beyond all boundaries, and therefore the Master and the Sangam are well known internationally. Swami Sivananda Navalar presented a paper with Saivism to a mixed audience at the Rand Afrikaans University, and he was given a standing ovation for his excellent presentation and his profound responses to the barrage of questions posed to him. Our present spiritual head, Swami Saiva Yogananda, presented a paper about Guru Swami and the establishment of the Sithantha Sangam at the World Saiva Conference held at MTS Hall under the auspices of the World Saiva Council in 1996. Swami also had protracted interactions with the direct disciples of the Master, including Swami Sivananda Navalar, Swami Arjunanda, Swami Anbananda, and Swami Sundareswarananda, and subsequently documented and printed the Master's life and the establishment of the Sithantha Sangam. A printed copy of this document was included in the file handed to each delegate at the World Saiva Conference, including the Saiva pontiffs from all over the Ardennams in India, and the professors and lecturers from the universities situated at different parts of the world, and other world spiritual leaders. Swami Arjunanda received a Nagaraja Award from Swami Sivanandi Adigaral, the then CEO of the World Saiva Council International, for the work in Saivism carried out in South Africa by the Master. Swami Siva Yogananda also presented a paper at the World Parliament of Religions at the University of Cape Town in December 1999 and gave international exposure to Guru Swamigal and the Sangam. He had taken 45 youth from Durban to the conference in Cape Town and facilitated their transport, accommodation and meals. We are all proud and blessed to be part of this mighty organization. Once again, I take this opportunity to welcome all of you to the celebrations of our anniversary. Sit back and enjoy the music, dances, and more especially the rich history of our organization. All items presented here today are proudly Saiva Sithantha Sangam Universal Mission. With that, Nandri Vanakkam.
Thank you, Thiru Selvan Chetty. And it indeed will be an afternoon of celebration, certainly a milestone within our Sangam calendar. Loving devotees, you've heard the sounds of bells in the background, and at this time we have a classical dance item for you, and I'd like to call upon Virosha Govender, who's also a member of the Durban branch and a student of the Manor Mani Dance Academy. So, loving devotees, if you could focus your attention up on stage, we have a lovely classical dance item by Virosha Govender.
கண்டோ தொழும் விலாச சதங்கையாடும் பாத விரோத லிங்கேஸ்வர நின்றாள் துணை
Friends, I think he deserves another round of applause. Virosha Kavanda Premi, and indeed a member of the Durban branch of the Sithantha Sangam as well. There's always musical talent within the Sangam fraternity, and right now I'd like to call upon the members of the Merebank branch who will entertain us with a few items. So whilst the Merebank branch getting readiness for their items, just some announcements. The Saiva Alaya Deepam will be taking place on Friday the 9th of December at the Greenberry Temple. That's on behalf of the Phoenix Regional Forum that will be taking place on Friday the 9th of December. Those of you interested and willing to attend this event that will be taking place at the Greenberry Temple. Also do take note that the Merebank branch will be hosting the Kartikeya Deepam celebration on Thursday the 6th of December. That's the Merebank branch on the 6th of December. Do take notes of those 2 dates, the 6th and the 9th of December.
Nade Saiva for giving us this opportunity on behalf of the neighbor Christ to sing at this function. Yes, all to the grace of Sri Peruman and our wonderful leader in His Holiness Brahma Sri Sungam Guru Swami. May His work continue forever. Thank you so very much.
One more round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Few beautiful renditions to our master. Devotees, of Siva Peruman, at this juncture, I'd like to call upon the spiritual head of the Sithantha Sangam, Swami Sri Siva Yogananda, who will now do the presentation of the 85 years of the Sithantha Sangam. And now call upon our Swami.
Once again, my loving greetings. Vanakkam, namaste, namaskar to one and all of you. I acknowledge with reverence all the leadership of the Sangam and to our guest speaker to Israel. Thank you very much for being here with us. The Sithantha Sangam has a very rich history, and those who have often to the train that I spoke about earlier this morning, different people jump onto the train at different stations, the others also jump off. And those who have jumped in recently would not know the rich history of the Sangam. So I just want to cover some aspects of the rich history and the noble leadership that were involved in this rich history over the years, 85 years of the Sithantha Sangam. At the helm is His Holiness Brahma Sri Sri Subramaniya Guru Swami, our Sadguru, founder and ecclesiastical head of the Sithantha Sangam of South Africa. Guru Swami was known throughout the world. I personally have had interactions with people across the world. And Swami Sithantha Adigal, the CEO of the World Saiva Council based at the Meganda Ardinam in London, stated that Guru Swami is a saint. He declared him to be a saint, although in Saivism an individual can't do that. But that's the level that he regards the master. And then if you look at Professor Loganathan, the head of the Department of Philosophy in the Saint University of Malaysia, having looked at the works of Guru Swami, says this is a Siddha's work because it is written in Siddha language. And then interaction with Professor Gopal Krishnan, former head of the Department of Philosophy, Madras University, who've come to South Africa a number of times. He says that our master is also a mystic, and he provides evidence quoted from our Pratani Nula, which I've actually brought out in the Aradhana. I don't want to expand on that here as well. So, here is a master who mapped out a simple sacred pathway for all of us to follow. And we are so blessed. The master has also written 135 songs. He's written a Pratani. If you look at the compendium of Pratani Nula, prayer book, is made up of three things. The first thing in the prayer book is Pratani, is the Sunday morning service. Then the Padal, more than 135 songs that he has written. And then the Kattaligals, which is the commandments. Commandments are the directives to the spiritual aspirants to follow in this pathway. And Guru Swami also initiated his disciples. And on the screen you will see the first group of disciples that we initiated. Sri Swami Karunananda Swamigal, Swami Sithantha Navalas, Santhalingananda, Swami Anbananda, Swami Nityananda, Swami Paramananda, Swami Somananda, and Swami Sadananda. The other Swamis like Swami Arjunananda and Sundarasaranda were initiated subsequently. This is the first group that was initiated by the Master. There was also a Mother Sangam, very, very active Mother Sangam in the organization that were involved in a lot of work, pulling all the work together for the Saiva Sithantha Sangam. This is the gravesite where the Master was buried alive. Firstly, this is a death-defying act to be buried alive for 1 hour. If medical science says if the brain is deprived of oxygen for a maximum of 3 minutes, the brain cells are dying. Then you'll be a dead person. But the Master performed a feat that is death-defying. He buried himself alive for 1 hour each time. But before he was able to do so, he had to get permission from the government. So he had to be buried alive for 15 minutes before he got that permission. That was done in Verulam, and subsequently he was buried in Karis Mountain and in South Coast as well. If you see this picture here, is that Guru Swami waking up from the grave, and you will see his brother on the left hand side, Mr. P.B.A. Reddy, at the graveside when he got up. And the next picture you will see Dr. Desai, who examined him, found all his vital signs were perfectly normal after the 1 hour when he came out of the graveside. And you can see Guru Swami even smiling in this picture after that 1 hour of excruciating movements. At that time, all the people that came, there were 3,000 people, there were critics came there. There were people who said, what's wrong with him? He's a madman, he will kill himself. There are others who were members of the Sangam who were in tears. So there were different emotions that were expressed at that time. But Guru Swami showed his mastery over pranayama, breathing techniques. And this has actually demonstrated to the world that spirituality is even beyond science. Spirituality is beyond science. And therefore, even the critics started following Guru Swami. And therefore, the Saiva Sithantha Sangam expanded phenomenally during the early years. And this is a note of his samadhi when he left his mortal body on the 5th of May, 1953. And the day later, 6th, was his final rites were being done for his mortal body. when Professor Gopal Krishna was here, some of us visited this gravesite and offered our prayer there. Sri Karananda Swamigal was the spiritual head who succeeded Guru Swamigal. He was the first spiritual head after Guru Swamigal. He was a very simple, humble, pious person with an incredibly beautiful spiritual demeanor. He's always full of smiles, and he was one who used to greet everyone before the others should greet him. He would even greet the children before the children greet him. That's the power of his spirituality. Very simple, but very dynamic inside. And he was very soft-spoken. And during his reign, the sangam expanded exponentially. You know, we then had branches set up all over KwaZulu-Natal at that time. And more than 23 branches under his reign. This is Swami Sivananda Navalar, one of the greatest spiritual giants of the organization. Very articulate in the Tamil language, very articulate in the English language, and he's taken Sangam to great heights by his oratory. Besides being a powerful spiritual master, he also buried himself alive for 1 hour. And that's how great a spiritual master he was. And because being buried alive for 1 hour is beyond medical science, the University of Natal Medical School approached Swami Navalar to be buried alive under laboratory conditions in an airtight glass coffin, which was done at the medical school. It was an airtight glass coffin, and his hands were out of the coffin, and they were monitoring his pulse, monitoring all his conditions. It was all of the monitoring take place. He was in such deep meditation and in a state of samadhi that all his vital signs were perfectly normal throughout the 1 hour, as observed by the medical personnel from the medical school. So he was a great master as well. I have been fortunate when I was 25 years old. I was appointed as the spiritual head of the Phoenix branch of the Sangam by Swami Sivananda Navalar at the age of 25. And I had lots of interaction because I actually worked closely with him. I was also the chairperson of the Executive Council, General Secretary of the General Council, General Secretary of the Sangam, and a PRO at different stages under Swami Sivananda Navalar. So we've had protracted discussions, and we have had lots of things that happened in the early history of the Sangam. Unfortunately, we cannot share that today. These are the early members of the headquarters. You'll see right next to Swami Sivananda Navalar, who was seated and centered. On his right is Ganesh Modi from Bank. He was the admin person for many years. There's also Swami Brahmananda on the extreme right, and other old stalwarts who served very sincerely the organization in those days under Swami Navalar. Then we have Swami Arjunananda, who served from 1990 to 1997. Swami Arjunananda was also a very great Tamil scholar. He studied through India. He acquired his Tamil knowledge directly from India. So therefore he was very good in the Tamil language. But Swami Arjunananda, he was different from the other spiritual leaders. He was a karma yogi. Karma yogi is one who does work in his spiritual life. So what he used to do, he ran he did all the printing of the wedding cards for the weddings that were performed in those days. So the printing press was being run by Swami Arjunananda. He also ran the welfare society. He used to visit all the doctors, get the donations from them. He should even personally go and buy all the vegetable fruit and the groceries, prepare meals, and ensure all the indigent children from all schools in the chapter of the neighboring area had meals to eat. Because in the research that was undertaken that time, we discovered many of the schools, children were not bringing lunch to school, and they were not able to concentrate in class. And that's where the initiative of having the welfare society to prepare 1,500 students in that area for lunch in those days. And Swami Arjunananda was the forefront of that welfare society. And then Swami Sundaraswarananda, also a direct disciple of the Master, served for 3 years from 1997 to 2000, and I took over subsequently as spiritual head from the year 2000. The Sangam in those days also had the birth commemoration of the Master on New Year's Day, and would to commemorate the Master because everybody were on holiday, they chose that as a convenient day. But Guru Swami was born on the 10th of May. But for convenience it was celebrated on the 1st of January. And this hall was, before this hall, the old hall was full capacity. Even when this hall was built, full capacity on the 1st of January. Because people were showing their love, devotion and bhakti to the Master on the 1st of January. And they started off the year with being filled with a lot of spirituality and spiritual energy. And that sustained them. Then the Mahasivaratri was also conducted by all the branches. This photography is a Mahasivaratri in the Greenberry temple. In that particular temple of Mahasivaratri, prior to COVID, there were almost 600 people assembled for Mahasivaratri in the first jump. 600. And if the Mahasivaratri was on a weekend, then about 400 will stay overnight till the following morning. So that's the impact. Because this temple is in the heart of the community, it is surrounded by people all around. So you can see it in this. But the other branches also did the Mahasivaratri. It was done here by the Durban branch in Amsterdam Township, nearby Peter Marisburg, Indonesia, and other centers. But I'm just showing the work that was being carried out, the impact of the work. This was on the night of Mahashivaratri in Greenberry. Then we had also the seaside pilgrimage. Here this picture shows you the prayers in the seaside pilgrimage were done on the shores. Right? There was no shelter. And the people were either standing or sitting all around, and the Mahabharati was conducted on the sea sand. Fortunately, I've been part of this process as well. But because of global warming and the impact on the weather conditions and the excessive heat as a result of global warming, we couldn't continue in this fashion, and therefore we erected marquees at Pakrani Beach to accommodate the crowd. And you can see we were then growing as well in terms of the numbers. The seaside pilgrimage before COVID, we had more than 1,100 people at the seaside pilgrimage. You can see them as well. So it is quite an impact. We reached out to people all over the country. They're coming. Here you can see the spiritual leadership seated here at the seaside pilgrimage. Then we move on to, we also have Mass Samadhi prayers here. It's Samadhi of the Master, which was done in this venue on the 1st of May. I didn't put up any pictures here, but I've gone to the Shakti prayers. It's one of the big prayers in the Sangam, and I remember when I first took over as the spiritual Sangam, we had more than 800 people attend the Shakti prayers in this hall. The hall was full. We had to bring chairs into this hall, 200 more chairs accommodated in the back. The balconies were full. So, and that's how many people came to our Shakti prayers. I think this is Guru Vasanta Govil who's conducting the service in the morning. It's part of the altar in Shakti prayers. And the devotees came up, offered into the Mahavarvi and received the blessings. We'll move on to that. When Professor Gopal Krishna was in South Africa, we also took him to Merebank. He did a lecture in Merebank as well. This is the Merebank temple, and you can see the members of Merebank branch here as well. Adults Cultural Day, we also found that we had children's gala, and right from Guru Swami time, we had children's gala in order to empower the children on Year Isai Nadagam. That is, Year Isai Nadagam, the language, the music, and the drama, and the dance. So we empowered them as children, and we had successful children's gala. I don't have any pictures here today. But what had happened is, after the children left school, there were no opportunity for them to come on stage and perform. We started the Adults Cultural Day to create an opportunity for those children who took part in the children's gala to continue coming on stage, singing individual songs, singing their bhajans, and also to awaken the consciousness to our rich Year is another. And so they can go through life with them. And therefore the Adults Cultural Day was also started. And some of the pictures of our Adults Cultural Day. This is one of our early mothers. She's from Marinal branch. She's over 80 years at the moment. She also participated. Then we have the Kartikeya Devam. This is a picture taken outside here. Kartikeya Devam, when we connect with the divine in the form of light. And therefore we ignite a beautiful flame. And you can see that light that was lit outside. People come outside and they raise their hands in total surrender and supplication and connect with the energy of Sivaperuman through this light. And we also walk in and have a program within for Kartikeya Devam. And I think what is important is to experience the beautiful effulgence within, to connect you with the beautiful effulgence within. And when you connect with the effulgence within, you will experience inner illumination and outer purification. You illuminate your inner world, beautifies your outer world. When you connect with God as the divine light. But what happens is people create so much of cloudiness within themselves, they are unable to experience that effulgence within. If you go outside, look at the sun on a sunny day, you'll be able to see the sun and experience the light. But on a cloudy day, there's huge dark clouds across the sky, you'll neither be able to see the sun nor experience the light. Similarly, internally, with all the negative emotions of anger, hatred, envy, jealousy, lust, greed, fear, all the things that we carry, the baggage that we carry inside, is the cloudiness that is preventing us from experiencing our inner effulgence. But if we are able to mitigate all that and open up our inner world and purify and purge your inner life, you will be able to experience the effulgence within, and you'll be able to deeply connect it with God. I have personal experiences with God. Even while talking to the light responded in the way that I wanted. I have personal experiences while I was in India, meditation, even in my own shrine, I have personal experiences. So what I'm saying is, everyone has the capacity to move into the space, very sacred space, where you can actually experience divine light within you. Because Sungam is true nature, is transcendental, is infinite. So it's easier to connect with the manifestation of the supreme reality in the form of light than to try and connect to the image of Sungam itself. This is on top of the hill, Marinol, Jodi Malay. This was one of the early years. And you will see the devotees are walking up this hill. We come back to this. In Marinol, the Dasanuk Hall, we all assembled there. And I think this is more than 600 people assembled at the Dasanuk Hall. We have our Sunday morning service, and we have breakfast after that. Provide breakfast for 600 people. That at least 400 of the 600 people walk up the Marinol to get to the top. And on the top, we hoist a flag, we sing divine hymns, we chant the mantra, we have a program on the top. And there's an enormous amount of work being undertaken by the devotees at that time to take the Shivalingam right to the top, to carry all the things, even the ammonium, the mats and so forth, up to the top of the hill. So this is one of the flagship functions. Unfortunately, we are not able to do that this year, and not in the immediate future, because the entire hill is now occupied by the Rastafarians. That's the group that was staying in the bottom of the hill. Now they built in the houses right throughout the hill, so we would not be able to do this function this year, but we're looking at alternate areas. I'm actually personally looking at going back to Tongat, where Guru Swami was born, to look at the hills in the vicinity of Tongat. So hopefully I will achieve success there. This is a spiritual deepening program. I actually conduct 2 days of spiritual deepening program. And this program is for people who really want to make a difference to the quality of their lives. We spoke about all the negative baggage that we carry because we can't see the effulgence within. This is a program that helps you to get rid of that baggage, takes you deeply, because there's a lot of contemplation. You contemplate on your own life, what is happening in your life. You contemplate on even your fears inside. Classically, there are 2 types of fears. One is the biological fear, and the other is psychological fear. We need the biological fear because we have biological fear, we won't take our finger and stick it into the flame, otherwise it will be burned. And that biological fear prevents us from putting our finger into the flame. Or neither will we go into a game reserve and jump off where the lions roaming about because of biological fear. We know we'll be mauled by them. But what is not good for us is the psychological fear, all the problems that goes through our minds into our inner world. That is a thing. So we go through all that in this program. And we had resounding success. Sister Sarasa also did presentations in these programs. You can see the number of people are involved here. This year, this picture, everyone is seated and they are connecting with each other, holding hands. And we are doing breathing and connecting with our chakras. Guru Swami will talk about the chakras. That to take us to the higher level. Right. And this shifts people phenomenally. There was a young lady, mid-20s, from Chatsworth, came to Phoenix and was part of this circle. She's sitting there. And while we were going with this meditation on the chakras and breathing meditation, she actually saw, I don't know, but she saw Lord Nadaraja in the center of the circle. This is Lord Nadaraja turned around, looked at her, and just blessed her. This experience that she had while doing this particular program. There are other phenomenal experiences people have had in the 2-day program. I know Swami Sachidananda is not here. He's in India at the moment. He had personal experiences as well. He has actually seen Guru Swami magically in these programs. There was also in this spiritual initiation that took place, Swami Amedamani and Swami Sachidananda were initiated in this particular hall during my term of office. This was in the initiation program as well. We have also started what is known as the Tirumurai Vira, that is the Tirumurai festival. The heart of Saivism, the heart of Sithantha is a Tirumurai. And everywhere throughout the world, people sing the Tirumurai to express the love, devotion, bhakti to Sungam. And the first one we brought in Professor Gopal Krishna, who was the keynote speaker in our Tirumurai festivals. And we had them at our West Coast Center in Greenville, Hanglia, and 3 centers over a weekend. We did it for 5 years. This is Kanan Veeramani singing at our festival. The number of people, some of the people that attended the festival as well. These photos were taken at Westcliff, and this one was taken at Greenberry, Old Ceremony Festival. We also did a program at Westcliff for the youth. There are a lot of youth in this particular photograph. Logi Naidu was present with other dignitaries as well. This is a photograph that brought in the spiritual leaders of all the organizations that worship Guru Swami as a Sadguru. You will see Swami Premananda from the Karadam and all other gurus from the different organizations were brought together in this. It was a centenary celebration of the Master, 100 years. We had the centenary celebration in Westcliff, Greenberry, and in Derby Street. And we drew a lot of crowd, and many of the people in this photograph have also passed on. Sharkross branch also reached their 50 years recently. They had a function there. In the Renasia branch also, their milestone 50 years have celebrated it. We've also had other anniversary celebrations. This was put together by Springfield branch on the back of a bucky. You can see and there was a march on the street here, and this vehicle was in front, creating all the hype about the Master's life, and we had the celebration, the 75th anniversary celebrations. These were all the artifacts belonging to the Master, the harmonium and the Tamil typewriter is there, with all the other artifacts and the disciples. We also shared the light between myself and Logi Naidu with the 75th anniversary. This was the 80th anniversary of Sangam, where the 80th cake was also cut here. You can see the decor is different color also. It's the 80th anniversary of Sangam. There was Congress and Chetty singing on the 80th anniversary. Also Manogan Perumal was here in the function. He's now in Australia, in Perth. The professor was here also as a keynote speaker, Professor Gopal Krishna from Madras, and part of the crowd here. can see Ravi Pillai here as well in this photograph. And the blessings at the particular function. We had a coloring competition in conjunction with the 80th anniversary. We need to follow. We've done a lot of social outreach programs. In this photograph, between Dr. Chetty and myself, we've given 35 children their entire uniform, from the shoes, socks, school dresses, and the ties. With the boys, it was the pants and the shirts, the tie. For 35 school children from a very poor school, and they were handed the. We had lots of other outreach programs, like, for instance, during the COVID, we've distributed thousands and thousands of hampers to indigent families. Many people have lost their jobs and they were starving, so we continued distributing hampers. And then we also realized, as a result of the flooding, if you have a place like Tonga, all infrastructure was gone, so they had water, and our brother Vyasan was spearheading the programs to ensure we provide relief to the victims of the flood disaster. We did a lot of work on Lotus Road. We provided water for the people in Tonga a number of times. So we rallied around. So there was a number of. There was also earlier, several years ago, there was flooding in Chennai. And we had a fundraising project in West Perth to raise all the funds. I think we sent more than 100,000 rand for the flood disaster relief to Chennai. So I just want to mention this. I think it took too much of your time. Sangam, we had a conference, two conferences in partnership with UKZN Western Campus. One was Yoga and Holistic Health. The other one was World Peace. In terms of yoga and holistic health, we were able to get the dean from the medical school to speak about allopathic medicine. I brought in Yogi Ramaya, who is a clear yoga exponent from Madras, who also has yoga centers in 50 countries in the world. So you have different people from different healing were brought here to this conference. It was in UDW. And then we also had another conference on world peace. When the conferences were over, then we followed it up with having workshops by Yogi Ramaya. He did a workshop on diabetes mellitus, because many of Indians are suffering from diabetes. How do you deal with that? Those of you who do yoga, there is an asana you do, that you roll on the front of your stomach. It actually massages your spleen and it generates a production of insulin in the body naturally through the yoga to reduce. So it's a fantastic workshop that we've been through. And then we also had a workshop on cardiovascular condition that people experience. How do you manage it through alternative means? Then we also had a lot of publications. One is a manual on Saivism, which gives you an overview of what Saiva Sithantha is. And then we also published a book known as The Journey to Subramanian, which is commentaries on all the songs, including the Pratani, a commentary done by Professor Gopal Krishnan. If you read the manual on Saivism and understand the overall principles of Saivism, and then go into the journey of Subramanian, then you'll understand Guru Swami's teachings in the context of the broader Saivism. So that's what the whole idea was, to have both published. And then we published a book on Tirumalays. Recently we've done 2 prayer books, 2 editions of prayer books, and 2 editions of Ma, a worldly book. Right now we're also thinking of having e-books available electronically. One of the books that we've also completed is Abhirami Andadi, which is a book on Shakti worship. Tells exactly what Shakti is and the worship of Shakti. So that will be available electronically online shortly. So these are some of the things that we have accomplished, so I'm not going to go any further. but I didn't do justice to the earlier history. Maybe we will ensure that all is adequately covered in our website, and you have the opportunity to access our website to get a comprehensive understanding of the Sangam and the Master's work. So with this, thank you very much, and God bless you.
Devotees, I think it's only fitting to give Swami another round of applause for this. Certainly taking us back in time, and very quickly encapsulating 85 years of our history of the Sithantha Sangam, the work of our spiritual head, together with all our masters and all our Swamis and Gurus that have toiled over the years to make the Sithantha Sangam a successful one. Loving devotees, at this point in time, I'd like to call upon the members of the Amsterdam branch who will now render a few items. So once they get in readiness, Thank you. That was the Sithantha branch, ladies and gentlemen. Let's give them one more round of applause.
Thank you, everybody. I'm just going to introduce the song as we're doing it. As I walk closer, we're picking up feedback on the microphone, so I had to just do it straight away. I just wanted to introduce that song. It's on the movie called Monster, and the singer is Saiva. So the beautiful song, Ande Mali Nerum. I trust you enjoyed that song. Loving devotees, I just want to pass the vote of thanks very, very quickly. Just to all our sponsors that have made this function a success today, all our donors that have been a part of making this function an eventful one today.
to all our well-wishers that have come from afar and near, thank you to each and every one of you. To the members behind the scenes, loving devotees that don't know the amount of work that goes with preparing a function of any nature within the Sangam calendar. The beautiful altar that you see has taken a lot of time to prepare. And there were members that were here since yesterday, setting up, cleaning up, and making this place look beautiful for today. So thanks to each and every one of you that played a part. On behalf of the structures of the Sithantha Sangam, I'm going to say thank you to each and every one of you. We also want to thank our guest speaker who will be coming up pretty soon. That's Mr. Kiru Naidu, who will be speaking this afternoon. So he's going to be speaking. So I want to say thank you to you for being here with us. It is really an honor to have you here. To the Metro Police, there's no representation from them, but we just want to say a big thank you to them for patrolling this afternoon for our services, and also giving us preferential parking on the streets of Derby Street today. I want to say to the Metro Police, thank you so much for that. So moving on in our program, and just to give you a summation of the Sithantha Sangam loving devotees, I'd like to call upon our Vice President, Thiruviyasan Subramanian, who will now address you. Let's give Thiruviyasan a round of applause. Alright, loving devotees, I think at this time I'd like to call upon our guest speaker, Kiru Naidu. Loving devotees and friends, just a bio on our guest speaker. Kiru Naidu is a renowned scholar, author, and an historian. His books include Made in Chatsworth and more recently, The Indian Africans, which explores the arrival and life of Indian indentured laborers. Ladies and gentlemen, let's show our love and respect to Mr. Kiru Naidu.
Namaste. Salutations to His Holiness Brahma Sri Subramanian Guru Swami Go, His Holiness Swami Sivananda Yogananda. I also greet the Swamis and Swamis and the Gurus, and the President, and all the members of the congregation. I'm really very honored by this invitation to address you on this august occasion, this milestone of the 85th anniversary of the Saiva Sithantha Sangam Universal Mission. Let me also say that you celebrate this milestone at a very important time in the global calendar. It's on the cusp of Kartikeya Deepam, and it's on the cusp of Christmas, so all the good energies in the universe conspired at this particular time. And as I walked into this hall, I was taken back maybe 50 years walking with my parents into this beautiful hall. And it just brought back so many memories of celebrations, of events associated with the Sangam, but also weddings. And I was very pleased a few years ago to be invited here to Vyas and Subramani's wedding, and I hope that as we see a resurgence of interest in this particular neighborhood around Derby Street, that you will also have your children get married in this hall, so there'll be generations of us who will walk through this hall and not only recognize milestones like this 85th anniversary, but you will also have this kind of resurgence as you bring people back to both this universal mission and this part of town. In thinking about this address today, I thought through a theme of let's have hope and history rhyme. And I borrowed those words from the Nobel laureate and the Irish poet Seamus Heaney. And there's a connection between our histories of the Irish and the Indians. And that was, the Irish were indentured, and we of Indian origin were also indentured by the British. But we were not the only ones indentured. Thanks to my younger son, I discovered that the people we called Zanzibaris, and the main community is Unit 2 in my place in Chatsworth, were also indentured. There were Africans from other parts of the continent, from Mozambique and so on, who were indentured by the British, as were the Chinese and other communities, including the Irish. So when we speak about history, it's always important that we look at the totality of human existence and the totality of human experience. Too often, when we look at anniversaries like we commemorated this year, the 162nd anniversary of the arrival of the first Indian indentured workers in South Africa, we tend just to focus on ourselves. And very often we hear that we are a community of hard-working people, people that pulled ourselves up by our bootstraps and that nobody did anything for us or gave us anything. And that's a lot of that is really true, that this is a community born of hardship and resilience and triumph in spite of the tribulations. But we can't see our history in isolation. When we look at the history of our country and where we are located in this particular southern part of Africa, everybody worked. Everybody had a stake in the prosperity of our country. So even this book that we just referred to, that I worked with Paul David and Selvan Naidu and Ranjit Chunila on for several years, we look to tell the totality of that experience. We look at how the British, in degrading and robbing India of its great wealth, did the same in other parts of the world, in Africa, in Asia. Wherever they colonized, they robbed those countries and bled them dry. If you read Shashi Tharoor, you will find that India, before the British arrived, was the wealthiest country in the world. And it's not just gold and diamonds and silks and so on, but it was also the human capital. And in the British colonial overlordship of India, they removed us from there, the human capital of that country, and our cousins from Bihar all the way to Kerala and Tamil Nadu, it was then the Madras presidency. They took that human capital out of India and they took us to Fiji and Reunion and Mauritius and Guadeloupe and Suriname and Guyana and Barbados and Trinidad and just about every corner of the world. So all our cousins are peppered all over the globe. And now there's a movement out of the West Indies in particular, the Girmitia movement, to unite all of these strands of people that were robbed of their history and their heritage and their lands and taken to far-flung corners of the globe. But as we speak about that history, we must also locate our history as people of indentured origins within the broader landscape, for instance, of what the British did to the African kingdoms, the Nguni kingdoms, the Sotho kingdoms that were in the southern part of Africa, where in the dispossession of them of their land, forcing men in particular into migrant labor on the mines of the Witwatersrand, and forcing people into domestic service. So if you look today, and we have all kinds of social problems in our country, especially where you have families without fathers and so on, when we look more broadly at that, we see all of that as directly related to what the British did in the colonial project in southern Africa. When you take away people's land and you rob them of their wealth, you force them through taxation into migrant labor, you damage the whole society. So if we are in a situation as we are in South Africa today, let's look at the totality of that history and have an empathy for those people who lost not just their dignity, but their wealth and their livelihoods. So we must see our history as being of Indian origin, of being descended from the Indian indentured workers brought here since 1860, as part of that greater whole. And I think the more we look outside of ourselves, the greater will be the opportunity for peace and social cohesion in our country. Because when we look inwardly, we're not seeing that which lies on our doorstep and other people. So that's just one appeal we make in our more recent writings. But hope and history. Why should hope and history rhyme? When I watched Varosha dance earlier, that was the generation of hope, that not only do we have young people coming to take to our stages, but they're also a demonstration of a deep and ancient culture that we share. And to be able to keep alive those traditions is a remarkable, remarkable feat. Now, I've had the great privilege of traveling to different corners of the world, and when I say to people that there are young people, well, let's say if I say to people in Reunion or Mauritius or in Scandinavia, or indeed the Tamils that are in France, that in this southern tip of Africa, we could have a young woman dance Bharatanatyam on a stage, a tradition that goes back 6, 8, perhaps even 10,000 years. But in Durban, we could have all of that. That's reflective of the hope that we have in our society. So each time we might lament the fact that there may not be enough of us in a hall, there may be people moving away from the faith or not honoring our traditions, think that with these young people, we have that expression of hope. Similarly, the kind of expression of hope that we have from among the membership of the Saiva Sithantha Sangam Universal Mission always warms my heart, that people like Vyas and Subramani are able to mobilize their generation to respond to calamity wherever it happens in the world. And Swami Sivananda Yogananda, when you talked about the Chennai floods, you remember there was a Muslim on the stage in Steve Fatah with his guitar, raising funds for that tragedy that took place there. He was a very good friend of ours, and like with all of you, when you look at calamity around the world, whether a water shortage in Tongat or floods in Chennai or children that need school uniforms, you look beyond class, you look beyond color, you look beyond creed, you look beyond faith, and that's the strength of this mission. And we must salute the young people, especially in this universal mission, that look well beyond. So those are all the expressions of hope that we must always look for in our society. Coming to history then, with 85 years in this universal mission, and I was just glad in your opening hymns you sang to the ancestors, honoring the ancestors that have come before. And I think that's also the strength that you draw from this history. Guru Swami Go was a descendant of Indian indentured workers. My own family comes from Magazine Barracks, and the stories that one heard over the years of Guru Swami Go promoting Tamil language, promoting music, promoting the faith of Saivism. These are profound aspects of our history, and while it's something immediate to you as this congregation, there are those of us who are well beyond here that cherish that heritage as well. For your 80th birthday, you had another hero of South African freedom seated here, Swaminathan Gandhan, Order of Lutuli, was also born in the Magazine Barracks, and he had immediate experience of Guru Swami Go. Even took a toffee from Guru Swami Go that he gave at the end of the service. So that reverence in the history is something that lies deep within us. And I think that you have such a profound foundation to grow this mission and extend it not just with faith, but with the humanitarian work that we're all called upon to do at this time of just such calamity in the world. I'm also very pleased that you sang hymns in Telugu. And I'm pretty sure that in years gone by, when the diversity of this congregation was much greater, Swami Sivananda Yogananda, you probably have sung hymns in Gujarati and you sung in Hindi. And every time I go to visit Rukuma, she greets me as Namaste, because that was Guru Swami Go's instruction to make everybody feel welcome in the diversity of the congregation. I'm also pleased that you let me walk here with shoes. Well, not to the altar, but just in front here. And I was reminded earlier of the reason that you have shoes coming into that this part of the temple, and whenever you go to a temple like these grand temples in India and so on, your body and your soul is in the temple, but your mind is on the shura. I'm sure that some of you are aware that somewhere in Mgeri Road or somewhere that Guru Swami himself lost 2 pairs of shoes. So thank you for allowing shoes into here. So it's just such a wonderful and profound history that you have as the Saiva Sithantha Sangam Universal Mission. And let me extend on behalf of my co-authors of this book our congratulations to you on this, and wish you every strength in the years ahead as you build this great institution. This hall is a monument to Indian indentured workers. I wish you didn't say settlers outside there, because that's become a loaded word. But I hope that you will be strong in this space. This monument is probably the only monument to Indian indentured workers, and this was built in 1960. The 100th anniversary.
Officially opened 1980.
1980.
120th anniversary.
Okay, yeah. But this idea of a building that's in community service. So it's not bronze statues and other grand things. And forgive me, my brother from across the road, Salva Naidu, is involved with the statue, the Indian indentured workers. I wish they would build institutions like this, where you can pray and do community service at the same time. So it's with great pride that we're able to join you on this wonderful occasion, and may I extend to you all greetings for good health and long life. May there be peace and goodwill among all at this precious time of Kartikeya Deepam and Christmas. Om Namah Shivaya.
Mr. Kiru Naidu, ladies and gentlemen, one more round of applause. We have the book, Indian Africans, and we're humbled to have you present here with us today. Loving devotees, as I mentioned earlier, it will be a summation of the Saiva Sithantha Sangam, and at this point I'd like to call upon Thiruvyasam Subramani. Ladies and gentlemen, Thiruvyasam Subramani.
In the name of our Master, His Holiness Brahma Sri Siva Subramaniya Guru Swami Lord, my reverential respects to the spiritual head of the Saiva Sithantha Sangam, Swami Siva Yogananda, all the other Swamis, Swaminis and Gurus present here today, the President and officials, and more importantly the members of the Saiva Sithantha Sangam. Varikutu Hannah Jalima, she's making me. It's always a difficult time to speak when the hunger pangs start around 1 o'clock. This was a long time ago, but I think just following on what Kiru was saying, and I have the unenviable task of trying to sum up 85 years of selfless service to society in a very few minutes. But there was one quote that I wanted to share with you, and this was from a speech delivered by Bobby Kennedy, the brother of John F. Kennedy, when he came to South Africa. And it's called the Ripple of Hope. It was known as the Ripple of Hope speech. And it says, a quote, "Each time a man stands up for an ideal, or acts to improve the lot of others, or strikes out against injustice, he sends forth a tiny ripple of hope. And crossing each other from a million different centers of energy and daring, those ripples build a current which can sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression and resistance." 85 years ago, one man stood up for an ideal. His ideal was to reinvigorate in mankind a pride and understanding for the God-given religion, to create a society where all men and women were equal, and to raise the struggling masses from their suffering. 85 years later, we are all congregated here because of that one man's ideal. And that was the ideal of our master, the Guru Swami. Many men and women before you have sacrificed their lives to the mission of the Sangam. And many more will do so in future. But they sacrificed their life and their time because of the mission of the Sangam, because they believe in the mission and they continue to believe in the mission of the Sangam. Great men and women, too many to mention here. Many of you are sitting here because of the great men and women that have come before you. The responsibility to leave this organization in a better position than which we find it falls upon this generation of membership. Now, if there's anyone here that is over 85 years old, please put your hands up. Nobody. Now, Swami was talking about the train. The train was here before we got here. It's going to be a long way after we go. Because it is founded on the principle of true love and service. Now, what I'm going to do is, I'm going to ask you to please stand while we do this, because I think it is important that we do so. I want to pay homage to all the initiated masters of the Guru Swamigal, Swamis and Gurus that toiled for the Guru Swamigal and toiled for the Sangam. We all come from different branches, different organizations, some of us. All of them sacrificed everything so that we can stand here in this brilliant hall, this majestic big hall, and worship. An interesting thing is that the Swamis and the Gurus of the early days of the Sangam that toiled for the Master, they didn't have cars, they were not wealthy. What did they offer? They offered their time, they offered their service, their Saiva. Now most of us have cars, most of us have a fair amount of money, but what can't we give? Time, the most precious thing that is free. So, when we look at making the Sangam and continuing with the work of the Sangam, we must not ask what the Sangam can do for us, what can we do for them? Because that is how we keep this vibrant tradition and culture that we speak about alive. This is how we honor the Guru Swamigal's legacy. We can meditate all we want. We can sing all we want. But if our neighbors are hungry, if we walk in through the doors all the time and we look at the abject poverty around you, what would the Guru Swamigal have done? So ask yourselves those questions. I'd like for all of us to stand and I'd like you to applaud as I read out these names of these humble men and women that have come before us and we stand here today on their strength. Please continue to applaud them. This is an applause, a round of applause, and continue to give a round of applause as I read out these names. You can start with the applause. Swami Kavinyananda, Swami Sivananda, Swami Kirubananda, Swami Krishnananda, Swami Arulananda, Swami Sachidananda, Swami Sangalingananda, Swami Anbananda, Swami Nityananda, Swami Paramananda, Swami Somananda, Swami Sadhananda, Swami Vedananda, Swami Sivananda Pradasa, Swami Ishwarananda, Swami Simhayananda, Swami Arjunananda, Swami Sundareswarananda. And the founder and donor of this particular property, Sri Umapati Siva, who so graciously gave us his word and to us our Lord. Thank you, you may be seated. I wish there was more that we could do than just a round of applause, but time is actually against us. In saying what we have said, it's important to understand that the Sangam has to evolve and respond to the needs of our communities. Now, Swami has, the presentation that you've seen that Swami has put together highlighted many of the programs that many of us do not see that happens behind the scenes. If we are sitting in Springfield branch, or in Cape Town branch, or in Lenasia branch, many of us do not know that the Saiva that other branches are doing on a daily basis, the work of the Sangam is well and alive. It happens on a daily basis. And Swami has highlighted some of the very important functions that the Sangam has performed over the years and continues to perform. Now you can all see, given the numbers that we see here today, that the COVID-19 pandemic has had a devastating effect on not just our organization, but faith-based organizations in general. The time has come for us to now look at how we reinvigorate the organization, how we start rebuilding and re-energizing the organization. And for that, we need the efforts of every man, woman, and child that believes in the philosophy and the mission of the Master to put their shoulders to the wheel and work together to reinvigorate and rebuild the organization. That is what is required. No one is too young and no one is too old to build the Sangam. As Swami mentioned, the aims and objectives of the Sangam, number one is to promote our philosophy of Saiva Sithantha, and also to promote the universal philosophy of the Guru Swamigal that embraces all other systems, to promote the universal brotherhood of man, to establish libraries and schools where people can learn our language and express themselves in terms of our culture, etc. Now, this is all in our plans for 2023. 2023 is going to be the year of progress when it comes to the Sangam. 2023 is when we all put our hands on deck and make things happen. No more talking, we start doing the work. Because if we do not do the work, do not expect anyone else to do it for you. This is our Sangam, and we must be proud of it. We must never let the legacy of our Master down. So, in the next year, we will be looking to launch several schools where vernacular education will be conducted. We have many teachers of the vernacular here amongst us in the Sangam. In fact, we have many teachers, Swami. About 20 teachers that have completed the diploma to teach Tamil. Music, I must say, I was very, very heartened by the music on display today. And I think our musicians today really deserve a round of applause. They have really energized us, and we pray that you continue. And speaking of music, we also look to standardize our music as we go forward, our Sunday service songs, but also to encourage people to sing more of the Guru Swamigal songs in the various beautiful tunes and accompaniments that we have seen today. That is what we need to do to take it forward. We also have a lot of capacity building and succession planning workshops which Swami conducts. Capacity building to empower each and every one of you that is sitting here to be not just members of the Sangam, but you are all walking, talking ambassadors of the Guru Swamigal himself. And Swami runs these programs to empower the membership so that they can go on and promote the Sangam and promote the Guru Swamigal. I urge you to take up all of those invites to build capacity. What you see here around you is a blank canvas. It is up to us to make the artwork that we desire. I would like to, at this moment, thank all the organizers of this beautiful event today, and also to pay special thanks to Swami Saiva Yogananda, our spiritual head, and all the current gurus and swamis of the Sangam that continue to do the work of the Master so selflessly. And I think they deserve the biggest round of applause for today. Ladies and gentlemen, the Guru Swamigal has left us with a gem. He has left us with the hope that Kiru Naidu speaks of. We need to carry that hope with pride going forward. Be proud of an organization that has spent over 8 decades serving society, not asking for anything in return. And we will continue to serve as we go forward for the next 85 years, the next 100 years. Because I heard one speaker once say that we all will die, but the Sangam will never die. The work of the Guru Swamigal will remain eternal, but it depends on you. So with that, I'd like you to remember that. Ask not what the Sangam can do for you, but what you can do for the Sangam. I leave you with that. Nandri.
Very, very profound words there from Guru Vyasa this afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And you can see he speaks with a lot of heart and emotion when he addresses you. And I think it's a concerted effort of every individual here to play their part into propagating and promoting the work of our Master. Loving devotees, we will soon near the end of the program, but before we do that, we have another lovely dance item for you by Virosha Govinda. She's going to be making her way up on stage with another classical dance, Siva Stotram, that she'll be doing up on stage. That's Virosha Govinda for you.
Sungam Jataradam Parvati Vamapadam Sada Shivam Rudramanantarupam Chidambaresham Hridi Bhavayami Vachavavitam Haribhushanagam Ganeshadatam Dhanasya Mitram Kandarpanasham Kamalopakasham Chidambaresham Hridi Bhavayami Devadevam Jagadekanadam Deveshavandyam Sashikantachudam Yogi Sametam Kritavegnadaksham Srigambaresham Hridi Bhavayami Vishveshwaram Nityamanantamadyam Trilochalam Chandrakalavantam Sampatim Pashunam Hridi Sannivishtam Chidambaresham Hridi Bhavayami Chidambaresham Hridi Bhavayami Chidambaresham Hridi Bhavayami
Thank you, Nirosha, for that beautiful rendition. Loving devotees, at this point in time, I'd like to call upon our spiritual head, Swami Sithantha, who's got a lovely token of appreciation to give to our brother Kiru Naidu for being here with us today. So, Kiru Naidu, if you could please come up. On behalf of the Saiva Sangam, I want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us and being a part of our special 85th anniversary celebration and a little token of appreciation. Thank you so much. We will now do the closing prayer. Madhava Nesa, followed by Tirumuri, if everyone could come to rise, followed by the food prayer.
Karunik Saiva
Nandri, you may be seated. Thank you. Loving devotees, friends, well wishes, guests of honors, thank you once again for being here with us on this 85th anniversary celebration of the Saiva Sithantha Sangam. It is indeed with your support and love that we are here seated and to celebrate and to propagate our Master's teaching. Lunch is being served, loving devotees and friends. Tables have been set up at the back end of this hall for you to enjoy sumptuous lunch and not to go upstairs. We've made it a whole lot easier for you. Trust you can enjoy our lovely meals prepared for you. And once you've had your lunch, we'd like to have a picture of everybody present. Come another 5 years, another 10 years, the picture that we take here today will be featured on the screen for people to see later on. And that's the words from our mother, Saiva. Alright? So, it's always good to have pictures taken. Memories will last forever. Treasured ones will last forever. So, loving devotees, friends, lunch is being served. You can enjoy sumptuous meals and we'll have a picture taken thereafter. Nandri, Vanakkam.